Hello, and welcome to another episode of Outside the Lines. This is the show where we talk about humans and humanity and the things that define us, or sometimes the things we think define us. And certainly one of the things that define us, almost literally, is science. Now, science is kind of a catch-all term for the study of the physical world, the natural world. It's a way of understanding how things work, why they work that way, and just how things are. Um, and there are many disciplines underneath that banner, uh, because there's as many things as there are to study. There's going to be a science to study those things. So to talk a little bit more about science and certainly some specific things about it, we have a special guest today with us, Allison Charles. And so, first of all, let me bring up my co-host, Miss Renée Yaworsky, the Queen of Hair Hats
My,
herself.
thank you. Yes, I'm so excited because Alanson Charles, and people can go to Tardon Media, to the YouTube or tardonmedia.com, and see his most recent interview with Dennis Tardon that you referenced when we were backstage, to learn more about him, and here to learn more about him because he's actually multifaceted. Now, I know we say that about a lot of people. There are a lot of people you say, oh, this person's a triple threat. They do so many things. Alanson Charles has probably done more and knows more about all these different things than anyone I can imagine. He is a treasure trove of information. He's so deep into architecture and he's and housing solutions. He's interested in curing the world of all kinds of ills, like hunger and homelessness. He has solutions. He's a thinker. He's a creative thinker, but then he's pragmatic and practical in his execution. He's somebody who cares deeply about humanity and spirituality and connecting all of us together. And he's written a book about it too, called Play Whole Earth Game. And you can actually go to www.playwholeearthgame.org and find out more about that. We're going to talk about the book for sure. He's kind of into everything, but he calls himself an anticipatory design scientist. And we're going to find out what that means to him and introduce him to a whole new crowd of people and whole new fans.
All right. Well, let's now with that excellent introduction, let's bring him on.
Hello, everybody. Good. No, my goodness, Manny, thank you so much for having this show. Thank you, Renee, for putting us together. My goodness,
absolutely.
what an amazing. This is, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the fact that none of this is by chance. Chance is but a law, unrealized. Okay. Everything happens for the reason. And what you all folks said is I started listening to Free Speech Radio intently. And what happened is I got, as you folks were unpacking the questions, I was getting the direct answers. Like, this is what you ought to do. And it's taken me just this little while to get to see you guys and be here. But we were exactly where we need to be. And that is together in this environment, so that we can help people get into the life raft, the lifeboats. That's what we're here to do, is because here we are. Now, first of all, science. This just came to me recently because a lot of these words have meanings behind them to keep people who don't understand out of the game.
Yeah.
For a long time, I was mysticized by the word engineer. What is that? Scientist, mathematician. But science, I realize, is something that can be observed in a laboratory and then repeated over and over again. So we can learn. Now, this is the beautiful thing with who we are and where we are, because we're very observant. Every one of us who is listening to this thing is here for a reason. And I think it's to play. And the whole earth game is the best I can find for the folks at, Free Speech Radio to think about how to keep it. So when all the stuff is flying around, we can remember housing, water, food, energy are what we need to do something. In this case, we're just going to think. We're going to think. Now, thinking puts us into a mental universe.
Right.
Again, it's been left off the table, but now we're thinking. That is a gift. And that makes us also, it brings us to a godlike capacity. Now, here's what's really godlike. Are you the hammer or are you the nail? Or are you both? Are you both? And which are you? And I'll give you that, Manny. Are you the hammer or the nail today, brother?
Well, some days I feel like a hammer. Some days I feel like most days I feel like a nail. So today I hope I'm a hammer. I'm not sure.
Well, if you're a good nail, I'm going to tell you what, you can't lose, by the way. Now, a good nail is such that it just wants to be a nail.
Right.
Once you set it in place, once it gets out of the junk drawer, you just put it where you put it and leave it alone. Now it'll just be its thing, right? And there's a lot to be said for something that can just be one thing.
Right.
Well, you're going around with a hammer trying to find a place to put the nail and putting holes in the wall or what have you. Do you know what I mean? We go off in that direction. Now, of course, the trick is to balance all that. So if we balance everything in the 4 elements, then we get the 5th element, which is the ability to make good decisions. Right. So we need to be fed, we need to be watered, we need to be slept well.
Yeah.
Then we can make a good decision. Right. Now, what I throw at y'all, since you're all, free speech radio and TV listeners and watchers, and we're in a brand new game. Get right. And we're here to practice. All we're here to do is just start to practice.
Yeah.
There's no end. See, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just a little quick bio, just for the viewers, of who Alanson Charles is.
Well, I can tell you now, after 64 years, I'll be 64 on July 14th. Mm-hmm. I was born at 7:14 a.m. on July 14th.
Wow. Yeah.
And it says 7:18 on the birth certificate, but I think they made a mistake. In fact, I know they made a mistake because 7:14 is my number, you see? So, okay, about me, that's the thing. So I am Lance Charles 714. Here I am. Signing up now.
Yeah.
To make it real simple, I got the nod from the God. He said, you're going to do this incredibly, ridiculously large thing. So get busy. I said, what? He said, yep, you. I said, no, not me. He said, yes, you. And not only that, but I'm going to grab some people from KPFK to come help me. And then, boom, it took a minute. I started the journey. I started this particular journey in earnest in 1984. Okay. I figured that was a good thing. I'd gone through in 1984. I finally got the book read to me word for word a couple times, 1984 George Orwell, and figured we might as well figure out what this is about. And when you do, as you know, you go, wait a second, this sounds a lot like the Bush family playbook. Anyhow.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, if you go into that, right, you see that. So what is that? So who am I? Well, I'm the person now, self-taught, always the smartest kid in the room, and getting about a B+ just to get by. I like to be a bench sitter, but I really like to practice. I like practice. Everybody plays at practice. The games, I didn't get to play much, honestly. I was one of those guys. I hated that crap.
Yeah.
How dare that guy telling me I'm not good enough, right? All that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, then, while I'm here, I talk with my other guy, my guitar player. So I felt like I was held hostage in a house full of women in a basement in New Jersey, with a drum set and a quadraphonic stereo that played a lot of Beach Boys and Sly and the Family Stone, and some early Grateful Dead were in there. And there was a lot of, when Pretzel Logic just came out, we were listening for the first time, you see. And now it's like it's an anthem. But so I was working on this music that, and now, better late than never, like I was today. But, ultimately I wanted to be in a surf, rock and roll band. And so now I am.
That's so cool. So you're a scientist, you're a musician, you're a philanthropist, you're all these things. I mean, you're almost like a real life Buckaroo Banzai.
Well, this is the thing.
If you're familiar with that character.
Buckaroo Banzai is not one of my deals, but my dad is my deal. My dad was named Raymond Charles, and he's a Charles family guy. We go back in this little town, and our legacy is one of amazing kind of humility and opulence, all wrapped into one thing. So I got to say, this is where I come from. I can really say that. But on the other hand, you have to know too that I was dropped in. I was adopted by this family as 6 months old from Yonkers, New York, on July 14th at 7:14. I was born, another name from a mother that I've never met. And by some luck of the draw, I got into this situation. So from a very early age, I was super grateful and super, super grateful, and understood completely that my other brothers and sisters did not have it as good as I did. And my parents were great at teaching us humility and, opulent humility. My other siblings couldn't figure it out to some degree. They all have their own, everybody has their own path, of course. But, I picked that up real fast. And the only way I feel like, because my dad was a badass in long-term financial planning. His name was Ray Charles, which usually got us a pretty decent table almost anywhere we went. If you put Ray Charles on the thing, they didn't know who was coming, and they would look around. Are you joking? Sometimes he'd have to show his identification, because it was a funny joke, and this is one guy that can't sing a note, couldn't hold a note, in a paper bag with the wetness. And my mom was an ARPA singer. She was an opera singer in the church choir, and she went to the church choir, and we followed, the Presbyterian way of life, which is in this case pretty loosey goosey. Presbyterians are pretty loose, man. Just bring it. Come out every Sunday and just bring a wallet, and you're good to go.
So would you say that that your love of music comes from your mom? Is she
I gotta say, and then I'm in a church band now, and I play in a black church with a black pastor who I just am deep in love with right now, and I would like to bring him on to meet y'all at one point. But he plays piano and sings like Billy Preston, and I get to be his wingman, and I am on his shoulder, and I love doing that. So we're gonna be playing. That might be coming up live pretty short in my Lance Charles Drums podcast. Renee or I are making stuff happen. And I'm here for this reason, basically to carry the message that together we're here to do the thing. Okay. And if you're listening to this, we are just as capable as anybody of getting this thing across the finish line in such a way. Now, what is that such a way? Such a way is that this planet provides 5 things for all living things: housing, a place to sleep tonight, water, clean water, food, so you can have the energy to be the best person you can be. Now, this includes helping other people. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm
no.
wrong.
No,
Tell me I'm
absolutely
wrong.
not.
Okay, did I get everything right? Does
You're
everybody
wrong.
get this?
Yeah,
You-
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, as we all know, unfortunately, there are people who don't have those things. So how do we help? How can we?
Well, see, here's the trickiest part of the game, as you know, Manny. I don't know. This is the weirdest game in the whole planet because it seems to come down to this thing. It's the trait that I had. We all come to this place of the dark. We have to come to our dark side. We have to meet that person squarely in the face and decide which way we want to go.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then we've got to find that voice within. And this is where I've been doing all kind of research because I have people who struggle with this dis-ease in my family. The dis-ease of basically it's a fear compounded by a lot of assumption and gossip within the head. And I've been hearing this over and over again. And it's basically you have to you have to start practicing kindness to yourself first.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It starts with you. Like that's all we can really handle. It's a law, Manny. The laws are that everything's vibrating, everything's happening at the same time. Okay. And then there's like polarity, like every truth is a half truth. There's two sides to everything. There's always two sides. And that's where we fight. This is what they've got us playing with. This group who is manipulating us and our kids is working very carefully, and all the hounds are loose to manipulate us through the social media structure. I mean, at a very high level. Now, it all comes down to, of course, frequency, which is that second law. Frequency and vibration are very close, and
Right.
how they manipulate us through that. Okay, we can go into that level. Then you have gender. Okay, everyone has both genders. And I'm saying, I'm stamping my foot as a man to tell you it's harder to be a woman than it is to be a man, which
Oh yeah.
gives women more power. Because if you can handle what the hell we're throwing at you right now, then you are strong as a house, a bridge, a
Yeah. Oh yeah.
pyramid.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are female. Like it's weird. Okay. But so the females have power right now. And this is where we have to look to because they're going to save us. And it's funny because I saw this thing on Amy Goodman today. Women and children first is what you hear every time. Like, okay, women, usually it's those are the people who are get thrown off the ship first and fed to the sharks. That's
Yeah.
what that means. Okay. It's like, war, those are the people you go after. Women and children first is not a declaration of caring. It's a declaration of targeting. You see that?
Yeah.
So anyway, now we have to be right. It's so easy to get worked up into that fluster of this is all gone wrong. What am I going to do? And that's where I made this game to get me out of this place. And I think if I can play it and then you can play it and together we can all just play it together, we can focus on these 5 things, which is basically a direct ripoff from Eckhart Tolle. Okay. Eckhart Tolle, do you remember this Eckhart Tolle guy? He went to Oprah Winfrey with his book called The Secret. And the secret was that he could stay quiet for 10 years. So he became the nail for 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
And what he did as a nail for 10 years is remember that he was only in charge of himself, right? So his trick, right, as far as I remember, was to just go through, start to breathe and count your toes, and then up to your knees and whatever, and fingers and so forth. And then, That's how you get yourself out of the urge to, I guess, start yammering on about nothing. But and that's kind of what we do, is we remember that we're not in that situation of those children, but we want to help them. So it's our job to think about what it's going to be like after we get this thing figured out, and we can redesign the city of Palestine, or the country of Palestine, and somehow ask for forgiveness in the same process.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I cannot understand how a society that was a victim of genocide can victimize other people with genocide. It just does not compute. And as I was growing up and seeing, learning about history, I'm fascinated with history. How can you not? I mean, people, this whole thing, they were trying to do this thing with us too, where school is somehow boring and you don't want to do school because it's just a waste of time. I was just talking with a compadre of mine who grew up in the Sun Valley, and he's a bright kid. He's 70. He just turned 70 today. God bless him, is my guitar player. But he said he would go to school and it would be like Shakedown Street, man. You could go in one alley and there was everything. He was so high on LSD and mescaline, and if anybody caught him at a water fountain, he had to take some drugs. I mean, it's fun shit. We were having big times. That's the kind of type we grew up into, and then we were trying to like somehow regain that pioneer in drug abuse or something. Getting high is something I've been doing since I was in high school to cope with the whole boredom of having to be in high school. But I was also one of these schools where you had to wear a suit and tie.
Oh,
I was explaining to him, like, this is how we do. If you dress up, you act up. If you dress down, you act down. That's what the headmaster. I had a headmaster. That was his thing.
Yeah.
The headmaster said, dress up. I'm like, okay, so now you got to wear a tie. You wear a tie, and the next thing you know, you're respectable. I said, this is what other rich people do to tell other rich people how rich they are.
Mm-hmm.
A tie tells rich people you're rich, okay? This thing, they can't really tell. Like, you're rich. I can tell just by looking in the back there. You're whatever. This is a real
fake
thing, by the way. That is really Mark Twain back there. He is.
Yeah. Right. So you're in a real environment. Me, I live in a virtual environment. So
you got to tidy up. See,
that's
the question.
Up, yeah.
Here we go back to the 5 things. Remember, it's a science. So we know housing, water. You got to have a place to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a place to sleep. It's part of the fact that you're a planetarian on planet Earth.
Right.
So the way we play the game is I set it up so you have 5 things you got to look at. That's the thing to get you out of whatever syndrome you're in, right? You just remember 5 things. Now you're back down to basics. It's like counting toes.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if you actually open the book and start to read in that book, whoa. I bring a board of directors. Well, I bring my doggy with me. See that?
Oh, yeah.
That's where I ended up, at the end of the day. Happy as, and we just woke up. Okay.
So when did you write the book? I mean, tell us a little bit about the book.
Okay, so I started going to a lot of functions and answering phones over KPFK, and to find out what was going on in the sausage factory over there. Mm-hmm. And I was also doing lighting in Hollywood, and I had access to the warehouse and a 20% discount. So I horned my way in. So this thing came up called Artivist Film Festival. And I think Carrie was the MC for that first one. And I horned my way in to be the lighting guy on that show. It was at the Egyptian Theater. And so we lit the whole it was just beautiful. Simple, dimple, no money gig. And then I brought a guy in to do sound, and I put up the press wall, and I made the thing look $1 million. Bam. And so after that, I felt like I could go and say hi to Carrie. After doing all that, I felt like I was somehow in the crowd. So we started talking, and I started really yammering on about him, whatever, until we get to this place. But with Jackie Diaz, I went to her because I really wanted to get somehow, how do I get my idea of whole earth game out there to the public? And she said, you got to write a book.
Yeah.
So I'm like, everybody wants to write a book, that's the first thing you want to do in the morning, right? Writing a book's tough. It's horrible.
Oh yeah.
Excruciating, every word over and over, and you still make typos, and no matter how many times you read it, you same thing gets through.
Yeah.
But so here we are. So anyway, now I did the deadline that I hit was actually 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, and I love numbers. Now, do you remember where you were on 1-1, 1-1, 2011?
I barely remember yesterday, so no.
Right? See, I get you, but I remember. It was at Occupy LA.
Oh, okay.
And I got to distribute, just like my buddy Walt Whitman. I put out 100 copies, and I just walked in and I gave everybody, So there's 100 the first copy, and I think it's bound with staples in the back and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just really leaves of grass here. Here's my manifesto.
There you go. Yeah.
I didn't have the courage to get up in there and speak, but I wanted to really, what I was thinking is if we could take that whole movement over to the cornfields and reclaim the cornfields, because that had already been set up with a garden at the time and had some really cool raised bed gardening over there. It was ready to go with something, but they had no vision. So this is when I really like trying to get the vision. So I went back to the desert, and I'm back and forth desert, but I create vision. So like, this is what we do in a mental universe. You have to first create it in a mental universe. You have to write it down. You have to make a plan. You have to make a picture. You have to really do very specific requirements to get stuff done in any environment, much less the universe, but into the building department, for instance, or any type of development type of thing. But I studied this type of thing, and I knew that like my system was slightly different based on the work I did with Nader Khalili out in the desert. So he was working on the same type of thing. He's not in this particular, he's in the next book. But based on then what John Todd was doing with water purification, with what all these cats are up to, with this team, you can redesign any community. You can do it in your head. Because what it does is like what I'm trying to do is give what we do on this airwave is a lot of free information that's going to help you make your life better. Right? So what do we got? Those people, without it, unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do sometimes. Okay, without restricting their freedom to wander around with a flag and ask for 20 cents or $1 or whatever, that is a person's freedom right now. It wasn't like that when we were growing up. The 60s and 70s, it wasn't that kind of thing. Well, we had still the Welfare Act, which kept people from that. It seemed like they kept people from that particular line of going onto the streets from the bread lines. Now, we see pictures from the Franklin era. We know it was really bad, but we thought we figured this out. Honestly, the 60s and 70s, and then in Sun Valley, he was talking the 50s and 60s was the best time to even grow up there. Everything was affordable and things were going on. It was great.
Yeah.
And then what we're seeing, in front of our eyes since 1984 to now is super hyperinflation, where a $600 room in 1984 is now, $2,500 a month.
Right. Yeah.
But nothing's changed. Not even the carpet has been changed.
Exactly. Yeah.
They got the same carpet, and they're still, they're getting that kind of money. And that's where you got to wonder what's going on here. So now, evidently, the inflation monster is stronger than almost anything else. It's catching, it's a snowball. It keeps building, a tsunami type of thing. So we have to do something else, right? We have to come up with a new mindset. If you wait long enough, something comes. And now it's this idea of being able to live and travel without harm. I think that's really supersedes, house, water, food, although you gotta have a place to sleep with that. But the question, it doesn't have to be what we think is a house. What do you think is a house? Everyone has their own idea.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about it. Every single person has this thing called home.
Yeah. Well, it's different definitions. I know that during the pandemic, there was a lot of people started. There was this whole movement, the sort of loosely called the van life movement, where people were living in their vans or turning vans into their homes, and some people are still doing that, even though a lot of the restrictions have been lifted. But it's I I think it's a great idea, because
well, the van life. So this is the point. This is exactly the point. So what is it that makes you feel that you're rested tonight? That is really what it comes down to. And that's where everyone gets to take that opportunity, I guess, when they're listening to what we're talking about tonight. You can, you can decide whether you are in that place. And now it all comes down to this thing about giving back. So if you think that you have a little too much, you might want to give a little extra out, but take care of yourself first. Remember, in the plane crash, you put your own mask on first.
Right.
And then we go back. We love, Emerson's essays are phenomenal essays. I want everyone to go back and study Emerson. And his essay on self-reliance, of course, is the one that is the beacon of me first, then you. Okay. And this gives us a lot of latitude to it's your job is to be here to be the best you can be. And if you're that person, if you're that beacon shining, then you become attractive to other people.
Yeah.
If you're down in the dumps, you're just, you're acid. Nobody wants to be around you. And you start to, this is what goes on, is that people get into this, for me, it was pretty simple. I saw, it came to me in a picture of a spiral. I was in another marriage that seemed to be a downward spiral. No matter what I threw at this, no matter how much I tried to say a kind word, and it was never accepted. It was always spun around and made to seem as if I was derogatory. And I just, at one point, early in the game, just said, I can't do this anymore. I cannot figure out how to do this. So we need to get divorced.
Right. Yeah.
That ain't going to work. See, what's going on here is just not going to change. I just didn't think. So wife number 2, it started out the way it did, and it's continued on for 37 years. And it's what I call a positive spiral. I mean, we have outdone each other every single time. If I say, she says, yeah, but you, next thing you know, we're lifting each other's boats to a high level. And now we're struggling with some siblings, some of our kids' issues. I got one kid who's ready to, everybody has these problems. The solution is in your, laws of the universe. They don't change. They apply to all, because now we like this because they apply to all things equally. We love things that apply to all things equally. We hate things that apply to just one guy who seems to be getting every break to break every law in our fair nation. I mean, this guy is now, and the hounds of hell are loose, Manny. They are. And we've been talking about this on Free Speech Radio for years. I mean, I remember when Obama came in, they connected the dots. We were, nobody's squeaky clean. And, a lot of these guys are, I believe, and this is, I don't know if it's off topic, but I think that's the name of the show or something.
We're outside the line. So yeah.
Outside the line. Exactly. Well, I say, let's make a straight line. It's a straight line from George H. Bush to, the Bush Cheney legacy ends with Liz Cheney. But they let once they let that open, this is what's happened. This is really the result of that. It's been, simmering underneath ever since. And now we're in the Civil War for the, this is the War of Rights. the Civil War. I mean, what are we? This is the War of Rights. I mean, they changed that. You know, in the game in Call of Duty, they went from Civil War to the War of Rights. Now it's the War of Rights to have a slave or not to have a slave. Can you imagine that shit?
Yeah,
I mean, that's some wacky doodle, thinking. So again, so who am I? Well, Dad was this straight-laced guy, long-term thinker, got paid huge amounts of money to help other people think in long-term strategies for financial planning. And just the dumbest, most boring type of assets you can think of. Nothing with any type of heartbeat in that portfolio, just straight lines going upward. Now he created he did this for a company that services millions of people each year through death benefit. And by no means is he responsible for the guy. He's not that guy. He had a crew and a team and an office and creating a company that still has yet to be in the news. Now, he was also with Lehman Brothers. Isn't that funny? He split from the insurance industry at the last minute. He said, I'd like to go ahead and make a couple million just before I die, because I don't think you guys are going to be able to survive if I don't leave you a bunch of money. That's literally, finally, you came out and said that, it's like, okay, you're going to need some money because you're obviously dumb as a post. Now, my dad was like this guy that made everything look easy. Like he walked uphill to school. Like it took 2 miles to walk to school. He walked uphill both ways. And then when you actually go to the road that he walked, sure enough, it's a belly in the thing. And you had to go up both ways. Okay. But he had to walk 2 miles as a young kid to kindergarten. And of course, he aced everything and completely wiped the decks. And then he became like cum laude, top of his class in high school, and then was an All-American football player. And then went to Knox College in Illinois. And Knox College in it's Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. And if you look up Galesburg, Illinois, you will see that is the birthplace not only of it's Ronald Reagan. It's where he grew up too. So my dad and Ronald he was a little older than my dad, but they were in the same kind of ilk. And so I had that that dinner table conversation of. We were very Democrat, super like Roosevelt type of Democrat, New Deal. We want everyone to win,
Right. Yeah.
Everyone should win.
Yeah.
Make it fair and equitable was the whole thing.
Yeah. So you also call yourself a anticipatory design specialist.
Scientist.
What is that? Scientist, rather. Sorry.
Well, anticipatory.
So what does that? What does that mean?
So if next to my dad in what he did, he was really great. I could not do what he did, but he could not do what I can do. I can imagine huge things. So this goes with my guy, another July person. So Bucky Fuller was born July 12th, and I'm a July 14 guy. So remember 7/14, 7/12. He was probably born 7/12 a.m. or p.m. too, or something like this. But whatever. Buckminster Fuller was an anticipatory design scientist. So he basically, what you want to do is get about 50 years ahead of everything, figure out the problem, and then come back and tell yourself how you fix the problem. Based on, of course, not just a whim or some type of, it has to be on real science. Okay. So how do we create science, anticipatory design science? That to me is a true environmental design. Okay. Now, if we have some stuff about Paolo Solari was doing arcology. Now, his thing in Cordes Junction never really flew, but it's still it's a beautiful legacy of that, of course. And then you have the Elrod, the mid-century modern guys doing all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of beautiful I was kind of in fly on the wall for this, is what I feel like. But what I tell you this, is that from what I understand in this little silly game and how I picked these particular teachers, that if you use this technology, if you use this in any recipe of human habitation, we're going to get a better result. Now, what I'm interested in is how we fix the thing after the dust settles. Okay, the conflict now, I think that if you provide housing, water, food, and energy and give your people something to do, like what's happening in, shall we say, China, then people are feeling as if they're part of the bigger part and they're taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that the Chinese people that I run into are feeling like somebody's got their back. They're willing to put this up so that their children can get a better educate or something, or there's lots of folks who are in this human trafficking environment around the country that are not necessarily, you don't know. It's old as it's old.
Yeah.
It's the soft invasion. It's the water against the stone. The water always wins.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So here we are. So that's the, stuff I learned on Free Speech Radio and stuff I learned in college, and people I ran into along the way have shown me that there's only, here's the big ta-da for you. Probably are you sitting down? I can see you're sitting down. Is everybody sitting down? Renee, back over there. There's only one way. There was just the way. There was no other. There was no, Manny, tell me I'm wrong with this thing. I mean, the way is the way, the Tao. It's the Tao. So we follow the way and we get a better result. If we go against the way, it takes us nowhere. We actually end up getting nowhere.
Yeah.
You got to go the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's explain a little bit to people who might not know what is the way.
Well, it's interesting too. Okay, thank you. I'm glad to talk about this stuff. It's the way. So it started with the Tao of building. The timeless way is where Christopher Alexander comes in. He's part of my my board of directors as well. So he is super important. He just passed away recently. Christopher Alexander is about pattern language, the timeless way. He created a kind of what's considered to be almost like a geometric problem for each particular problem, like the gate, where to put a window, how to face the door, where this, how to make each building connect to the other buildings, how to make it work together. Now, if you bring this to the thing early, then you can get really exciting about how you organize space. And it becomes a symphony and I can't wait to get one of these, and I'm working on it because it takes a long time to get to the place where you can get to the pot. But the point is, and then I want to play with this thing using my air houses, my doll houses. I call them air inflatable doll houses, because if we put them in a circle, it's going to be a different reaction. If we put them in a straight line, it's going to be a different reaction. If we square them up, it's going to be a reaction. If I do a geometric pattern, it's going to be a different reaction. Do you see what are those reactions? And you have to go through this process, and it's beautiful. It's the yummy expansion of life, So what we're trying to do is take the standardized building requirement for safety, which is absolutely important. You got to have a safety standard or stuff falls down. So
right, yeah, of course, yeah.
Safety first, right? Okay,
safety
let's do safety first, right? Boom. After that, it becomes your deal. Now, what happens too is that a community with certain types of building materials will start to build their own vernacular. And now the architecture becomes place-oriented, place-based architecture, based on the color white, the fact that everybody in this one place has a lot of lime, or in maybe ancient Aztec culture, can you imagine the whole thing's painted red because there's enough blood to paint the entire thing red? What? That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
The entire temple is bright red because they can't what to do with this blood. Now, that's another discussion we'll go into. The sun worshipers and how they looked at life and death completely differently is a whole thing. But we want to have that same type of thing. At the end of this day, because you know now the 7 principles. Remember, you got all is mental, all is mind. There's all is the only thing there is. That's the all. So I could stop there, and that would be enough for a lot of people. Everything's moving. Nothing is at rest. Everything's happening at the same time. There's 2 sides to every coin. Everything has a gender. Everything has a male and female complement. There's always a male to every female. There's always a female to every male. There cannot be a screw without a nut.
Right.
Or the wood becomes the female, I guess. Goodness. Anyway, then you have that, and then you have cause and effect. So again, back to correspondence. What you do, what you put out is what you get back. Now, if you believe this is a law, so you don't have to believe it, but it'll come around and teach you. The game is the teacher. Remember this, right?
Yeah.
The game is the teacher. And so once we practice the game, this is what they say in soccer, right? I stole that. The game is the teacher. So the game is the teacher, but that's the game. And so combination of free speech radio, a road less traveled on 12 steps, if you know what I mean, and the laws of the universe, which apply to everything the same, no matter where you are in the universe. Good Lord, have mercy. This is not just for some people. It's for every living thing. What? No, every living thing. Wait a second. So that means in an eternal universe with eternal life, so do you. Now you are Trace Magistus. Manny Trace Magistus. You've ascended. If you practice this, you will become a 33-degree Mason, a complete human being. All 33 vertebrae will be lined up. Your chakras will be clean and cleansed. You will have no fear, no shame, guilt, gone, doubt. What happens when there's no doubt? Manny, what happens when there's no doubt?
There should be some calm there.
Yeah,
kind of a like you're talking about nirvana in a way.
No doubt. And nirvana.
Yeah.
And what? Teen Spirit? And who was that one? Without doubt, you have this thing called faith.
Faith, yeah.
If you really have no doubt, then you got to have this other thing called faith. That's what you get as a result. See, if you have fear, then you have doubt. Fear comes with shame and guilt and doubt. Fear, shame, guilt, doubt. Faith takes that all away because we know that it's already worked out. Now, here's what's going on in the real, what's going on, top level stuff through my good friend Robert Edward Grant. You have eternal life, and you have endless lives in the game called what I'm calling One Whole Earth. If you want to call it One Whole Earth, then you're in. There's no getting out because there's only one. It's a whole Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in it. Okay. So if you're in the game, then that's just the point. So just play to win. Do the best you can to be the best you can to help the other people do the best they can to be the best they can. It's not that hard, I'll see you on the field tomorrow.
Yeah. So let's Renee.
Yes,
Renee.
Sir. Hello.
There she is. Hey.
Welcome aboard, young lady.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we were going to play a video or something. You have a video?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, this is from again the chip off the old block. I'll set this up a little bit. My daughter,
please.
She caught on to what I was doing, and she decided to create a new company. And she is focused on the clothing that's going to the landfill in our garment industry. We are just producing more and wasting more, and with no end in sight. So, what she does is she takes these. This is ancient too. I'm really proud of her. But you take cloth, turn it into gold. Let's take a look. There you go.
And yes, and Lance made that ad, and that's music beneath it. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Lance. Yeah. But that's his daughter's company, reclaimthreads.com.
Well, I mean, it is. I'm a polymath. So math means learner. Mathematics is learning. Is the word? It's a Greek word from learning. So poly learning. So if a mathematician is a person who likes to learn all kinds of things. So my mom was a singer in the choir, and she would take me to voice lessons, which gave me a really good ear. I can hear stuff. But I followed drumming, and drumming got me kind of the girls and so forth in high school and stuff. And then, but I'm still just moving forward. But in the day and age of YouTube videos, you got to have original music. So I like to play music with original bands, and I like to make original music and make my own music. I mean, I can do that. I don't need to steal it, but I do I will steal some music, but I'm trying to make up for it and redo stuff. Well, I've also done the Emerald Tablet. So if you come to my website, which is playwholeearthgame.org, and then that's going to tell you more about the depth of the game. It's got a great video I did with John Trudell about the game that's happening around us. His pitch on that is something worth listening to, I think, if you're one of us. And then basically, so the music, I like to do the music myself if I can. These days I got so much music. I play a lot of music. Now I'm following the Prince model work ethic. Even at this age, you start, but he went in and just whapped out 10 or 15 songs a session. And his story is that he didn't take more than 2 takes either. He just went to the next. And I like to do that too. But we're doing a documentary. It's going to be behind the drums, and that's coming up. Our old band has gotten to surf rodeo. We're a surf band, and we're over 60. And our guy surfed the point in 1961, by golly, and that's his beach, man.
All right.
And we got some cool songs, and then the drumming, it's great, open-ended drumming and moving along. There's a lot of polyrhythms going on there, and I'm pulling it off. I dig it. Having fun time.
Is there a place? Do you gig regularly?
Well, you see, okay, I have 3 names because when you introduced me, you said Allison. So many people forget that N. And
I know, and I apologize.
See, it's been
Alanson.
So when they did that the first time, my mom went into that teacher and made a whole thing. Okay, Allison. Whatever. It's huge gender issues. First grade.
Right off the bat, we've got problems.
Right off the bat, this sucks. It's gotta suck. So, and they never called me. They always kind of shortened it to Lance. So Lance, because you can get Lance out of that. So she said Lance is going to be your name. That'll help, And then we had this whole discussion about how we're going to use this Lance to protect me from being called Allison.
Yeah.
And then Lance is badass. That guy he's straight to the point, usually pretty sharp, very tight, And then Alanson's a little bit more, he's the author guy, And then Alanson is my other moniker, and that's coming from years of Thoth. And I have, if you go to Lance Charles Drums, Lance Charles Drums on YouTube, you can see my music library.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Well,
I
that's what I
did
was.
early, about 10 years ago, into dark times. Well, now it's about 13 years ago when I started coming around to what am I doing here finally. I came to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth on PDF form, and I started having the computer read it to me. And then in a vision, it came that I needed to make this more entertaining somehow, so I could, for myself and for other people. And then this is just a rough draft of what I'm planning to do is some type of more elaborate version of this, which I thought, honestly, through, again, free speech radio, and maybe now through the internet magic, we can bring together a kind of a group to do either the reading of it or some different kind of music, or maybe there's a ballet or some trance music. I don't know how it's going to come, but so the point is that Thoth, crystal consciousness, who brought this idea of these 7 principles to us? I mean, is there yes, there is a guy. His name is Thoth. Thoth is on the walls of the Egyptian pyramids. I mean, Thoth is some other person. We don't even know what origin. He has a head of an ibis. How did he communicate? Writing, math. He was a polymath, the first polymath, and also brought this idea of unity consciousness according to the Egyptian history. So it's Thoth, Osiris, and I always forget her name. Anyway, the wife of Osiris and the wife of Thoth, and it's just, which one? Who's that?
Yeah,
I keep Nefertiri, but I don't think that was her.
Nefertiri was
Isis. Oh, of course, Isis.
Isis,
Thoth, and Osiris are the 3 big players in the early Egyptian mythology.
Right.
But Thoth gets away for being. Now he's like also bisexual. Loves both. He's the Christ consciousness. He's the guy that everyone has been mimicking all through history. And then, but this is how Thoth lives eternally, through the word and through the law of these Hermetic principles, these Hermes. They're Thothian principles, really. They're Thoth, the truth of it all. The truth, the laws of the universe are the truth. There's only one truth, as it applies to all things equally.
Yeah.
A law can only be a law if it applies to all things equally. If it applies to Trump one way and like Giuliani another way, it's not a law. It's an opinion.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I'm just saying.
No, you're right. Yeah.
You want to count the votes, if you can steal it from Hillary, but you can't steal it, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
The point, so that's it's right. After all that, this all now becomes a drama of some type of weird movie going on in front of us. And we have to remember that and not take it personally, because that's the second, these are the agreements that we make with the Toltec people. Now, Toltec people were the same as the Atlantean people. So Toltec and Thothians are similar in there, and you can see by their ability to use stone and what have you. Is Olmec, right? Toltec, Aztec, Mayan, sort of that. So the Toltec, they said, okay, this is how you do it. Remember, because what we want to get is faith.
Right.
We want to be in a place of relaxed faith that everything's just going to work out perfectly, just the way it's supposed to. Even in your darkest hour, that. I hope you know that to be true. And if you don't, like, keep coming back, and we'll keep working on this, I'm guessing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
exactly. You got so personal, right? So remember, the way we keep that is through no gossip and no assumption, and don't take things personally.
Yeah.
Kind words, and then you become your own judge. But you got to be a nice judge, because you need kind words. Be nice. Anybody even trying is winning. I mean, you got to the participation trophy in this case is that now we're all Trismegistus, because we know everything that Thoth wanted us to know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to double down into that, I do suggest going off thing. The person I think is the highest level right now is called Robert Edward Grant. I would strongly suggest you put him on this show and have him talk to folks that you talk to. I think they're going to love him.
Okay.
And you can cut that out if you like, but
nah, we don't edit anything. It's all.
Well, he's great. He's definitely one. He needs to speak with us too, but he's on so him and Terrence Howard, of course, and then there's a bunch who are coming together. Basically, his deal is to make learning fun.
Mm-hmm.
Math without meaning is what they were doing. History without meaning. Literature without meaning. There was no real passion, and you had to go and get it. The ones who did got A's, of course. The ones who didn't got high in the back of the gym. We were doing our own thing. Like, we didn't need that crap, what, Latin?
Yeah.
Shakespeare, can you imagine? If they said that the Shakespeare are also the sonnets that completely open up the King's Chamber in Giza, and it's all connected to Orion and Osiris and Isis, you would be like, wait, I want to see more of this, right?
Right.
But that's the thing. They don't give it to us that way. And my dad was so frustrated. Like, he could see the colors with numbers. He was one of those, I don't know. He seemed like he could always do that. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, squiggly line, another squiggly line, and then it's supposed to be, then there's an X somewhere. How'd that get?
Yeah.
Frustrating as a kid.
I tried learning how to read music, and it was like,
forget it. I don't read. Well, now I can basically drift along with what they were intention, but you're right. I don't do that. Hoo-ha. Yeah. I have it from myself. I know that time is a real issue. Fourth dimension is stuff, and time being the construct that it is. Now this is Thoth goes into time, and time is just. It's not even. It's a whole mental construct.
Yeah.
Go. I swear. Go and ask your pet. Whatever you got. Okay, what time is it?
Right.
Time to eat. Time to sleep.
That's all they know. It's time to eat, time to sleep. Yeah. Well,
right.
Time is a construct. Time is something that we decided we're going to slice up periods of the day into these little, sections for our own convenience. And I think a lot of that really started. Time became important when we became more mechanized, when we became, the Industrial Revolution really enforced that idea of, okay, you have this much time to work, and then you can get to rest. And before that, I mean, we still measured days, and but it wasn't as
time is a huge construct. It's a very elaborate construct.
Yeah.
And keeping track of it. Now it says that in that there's a quote that says, time has no effect on anything, but everything is affected by time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're moving toward entropy, and but I think time is about motion. Everything's in motion. Planets are in orbit.
Now that's the thing. So I did miss the law of rhythm. The law of rhythm is really where that's another law that requires a day-night cycle, and that's a law. These are laws. And if you're on the moon, you'd have another law system. Okay, on the moon does not spin, so we would have it all day or all night on one side or the other, which would be really weird. Yeah, and that's even there's something fishy about that whole thing if that's not even working right. That's how far it goes back. Thoth won the position of the moon in a dice game with Osiris. That is the myth of that. Thoth placed the moon exactly where it's supposed to be, is what they said. And he's the same guy that put the pyramid together, all the pyramids together, and he says he built it from the top down. Figure that out.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what I think he meant, but at another time, of course. Now, here we are towards this end of this hour. I could just go on and on with y'all, but any other thing you need to know before we wrap up?
Well, no. Well, one last thing. Do you have any? Do you have any gigs coming up? Anything we can watch you
Thank you.
on?
It's
I saw you did a live on TikTok just a
Yeah,
couple of
we're going to
days
be
ago.
at Surf Rodeo on July 6th. We don't know when. Now, we're old dudes, and it's just starting to get hot. So they're probably going to put us in the sun. Our harp player probably keel over before the gig's
Oh
over because he
no!
blows with everything he's got. No, this is too funny. Okay, so I'm going to ask my wife, is it okay if it takes to the last minute to play some cool gigs? She said, yes, honey, it's okay. I'm playing, there might be 15, there might be 50, there might be, a couple hundred people. You never know. It's just the best. Again, we could all just have heart attacks before we even get on stage.
Oh,
But it'll be fun no matter what. Now, from that level, I don't know. And then again, I have several other projects going, and then I'm working with my guitar player now, who's my gunslinger, and he and I are going to go off and do some. Well, I have Brandon Regan in my sights, and he is a phenomenal saxophone player around town. Brandon and I share a birthday. I'm pretty sure he was a 7:14 p.m. baby. But I'm an 18, in the morning. But he's a saxophone player, and I now have the bass player. We want to do a trio with him and see what comes out of that. It's going to be that'll be our next level, I think, as a trio. We can move forward. And then what I'm going to be doing is coming to the East Coast to visit with Renée at one point. Oh, she's not in the coast. She's all anyway. At one point, we're going to get to something, and it's going to be musical, and there's going to be amazing things happen. So this is just woodshed out in Ventura.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lance, thank you for joining us on this episode. This was really, really fascinating, and we may have you back at some point in the future to talk more, because I feel like we've only hit the tip of the iceberg, as they say, as far as stuff that's going on with you. And
I'm just going to say straight up, I built this entire course of whatever it is for the folks that are listening tonight. So this is tailor-made just for you. I think, these are things I thought were missing in the discussion as we were understanding what's happening in our world. We need to come up with a solution to back it up.
Right.
And this is what the thing is. We can't just leave you always dangling with the worst possible news every single day.
True.
We got to know that when the dust settles, and then to look around first. Are you okay? Family, everybody? Okay. Now, right? Hone in on all that diet stuff that we're going to talk about in the other programs. But now we're going to work on the game. The game, we're all in the game.
Yeah.
The question is, are you working or are you playing? Those who play get a better result. And with that, big old bro hug, Manny, and Renée, get in here. We got a good thing.
All right,
yeah,
we did it.
Get in on it, Renée. There you go.
We did it.
Cyber link up. Boom. This is going to go. Bam! Glory be good broadcasting.
That's right. That's what we're doing.
That's another hour, and why good and not God?
It's the same. It's the same thing, right? Yeah, absolutely.
The same thing, because good applies to all things equally, right?
Absolutely.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, by the way, guys, and I know a lot of people are gonna keep loving it and watching it and tapping in. And it's one of those things where, for everything you guys were talking about, you could probably unwrap it and do 7 hours on that one little microcosm of the conversation. So,
here's what I want.
Conversation starter. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to work with Carrie. He was chosen by God to read the Declaration of Human Sovereignty. Are you familiar with this document yet, Manny?
No, I don't believe I am.
It's designed to undo the voodoo.
Okay.
And the way we undo voodoo is by spelling the fact that we know we're being messed with. Are we online or offline?
No, we're still on. We're still on. We haven't wrapped yet.
Okay, because I mean, the Declaration of Human Sovereignty simply states that if you're out there, whoever's out there, we have full control of our own thing. And in order to get control, you actually have to say it. You see, it's like an oath of any kind of thing. So Carrie and I are going to work on this, but I would like to continue on with this. Is the biggest gift I can give anyone who's listening is to be, the 7 principles, the 7 laws that apply to all things equally, anywhere you go, anytime in this eternal game. Right? Remember, there's 2 games that are going on: the games that end and the games that don't end. And we're in the game that doesn't end. It's called the infinity game. And so now, this is all up to you. So it's up to you. You've designed this life. Everything that you brought in. If it's a challenge, it's your challenge. If it's it's your victory.
And the document, the Human Sovereignty Show, is going to be July 14th, and it's going to air twice: once in the morning at 7:14, and once in the evening at 7:14. And it'll be a discussion about what that means. What does human sovereignty mean? What does freedom mean? Human rights. And there's a document. Alanson did not write the document, but
I have to share this with all my friends and right. In Free Speech Radio, because this is what Free Speech Radio is about, is to be able to talk about the things that really matter, to all of us without any restriction. I mean,
you mentioned Free Speech Radio. Where can we tune in on that? Where can we access that?
Well, we have the Pacifica Radio Network is the overall arching free speech conglomerate, if there is such a thing, and there is such a thing. But where it serves up best is in Los Angeles with KPFK.
Okay.
And KPFK is where they're responsible for this book. This is their book. This is my book to those people and those viewers, with one last chance that maybe if we use this magic, we can get what we need, which is to sustain and keep KPFK and shows like yours, going forward, because this is the kind of information that makes everyone stronger. We're in eternal life. So, and that's the other thing, is like a lot of us have been conditioned to be afraid, fear.
Yeah.
The fear. Now, do you think that fear and faith are the opposites, right? So do you think that someone who loves us so much would we are the greatest that our Creator can offer now, so that it can have an experience of what it's like to be alive? Everyone here is for. So imagine yourself as a taste bud on the tongue of the Creator. The tongue is pretty much, but if you put something nasty in there, it will react. But if you put something yummy, it will react. I mean, this is what's going on. But do you think after all this, that there would be some kind of like trap door at the end of the gig with a lot of pain and anguish? Well, only if you bring fear, shame, guilt, and doubt with you. If you bring faith with you, then you don't do that.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a religious thing. This is the thing. Okay. If you know about the laws that apply to all things equally, and you realize that really the next time you walk through a door into your bathroom, that's exactly the feeling from this life to the next one. There's nothing else. It's so anticlimactic. It's almost like, I think my dad was going into that direction before he died, because he was begging for death. I can't kill myself because that's not what the Creator wants. I have to go the whole distance. You have to go the whole distance. You don't get the candy unless you go the whole distance. You cannot get the goods. Like if you cut and run anytime, then you're just setting up a whole nother game. Now you got to pull out of that for the next life. How many lives is it going to take you to step away from that addiction to suicide?
Right. Yeah.
How many, is going to take you to, like, before you get up, stop, you got to sit through the game, even if you're not playing on the game. Your job as a bench sitter is just as important as the guy on the field. Darn it. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. I'm actually this person, but they don't see me. So but that's a Charles thing. Ugh. So at one point, that church in the town burned down. And my family put the money up but never said boo. They just like wrote they put the timber, like it was back in the day, and a beautiful little thing. Not one shred of evidence that they had anything to do with that building. That's one way to go.
Yeah.
That J.D. Salinger is like this too. He's got a book ready to publish in 10 years, but he can't have it, in his, can't have that adoration while he was alive.
Right. Yeah.
Some people shun away from that, and there's some of that, and then so you get some of that. That's kind of how I was raised, to just speak softly, influence as many, do the right thing, and then people will come to you. They'll find their own. You just show them how it's done. Don't worry about anything else. Right. And that's what I'm in right now with the situation, the drama going around Ventura. Is just being who I am, and that's why you guys show up, to help remind me of my practice, so that I can practice being kind to myself. My wife, be kind. She got always the love. She's got the thing, the T-shirt, the cutest little thing, just going around, walking, getting those steps in. Yeah. Couldn't care less necessarily about what we're up to. Doesn't listen. Nope. Doesn't have to. Totally. My dad, same thing. No fetters with that. Just do the thing. So here we are, back again.
All right. Well, again, thank you for being here, and really appreciate it, your insights, and
good to have you.
And thank you to our viewers for being with us today, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.